So our next speaker is someone that's very near and dear to us and that's been around for quite some time. Also has a long standing in community in an area that we are most concerned with, and that's with the criminal justice system. He has he has taken even his personal time and dedicated some of his personal time to help us out, to best serve the communities and the participants in our communities. And we so appreciate him for his love for community, for his dedication to his faith, and how that transfers into his work. So without further ado, I'd like to bring forth Probation Officer Eric Cerda.
Yeah, but thank you for having me, Ted. Thank you for the introduction. I owe you lunch or dinner. I don't know when, but thank you. Appreciate it. Anyways, Gene, one of the things that I wanted to update you on is what we're doing as a department, and just a little bit because, I'm not here so much to represent the entire probation department. I'm more here to explain a little bit of what we're doing as partners, as community resources every day for the population. And I know that Brad Carson's on the line, and I know Cookie's on the line, so they could chime in at any given time. So for us, dealing with this situation has been actually a lot of changes, not just for the staff, but also for the families of our clients, and also the clients themselves that are actually being held at the juvenile halls or at the camps. Because, a while back, a couple of weeks back, we stopped visitations to the facilities. And, that's a lot of trauma, a lot of concerns from the families because they can't come see their loved ones at the camps or at the juvenile halls. But remember, this is so for safety measures. Now, a lot of people have been advocating for releases, massive releases, not just in the county jails or in the prisons, but also for the juvenile institutions. And that's been going on. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that they've been releasing a lot of minors. Cookie, do you happen to have the exact numbers? I don't. Is she still on?
Yes, she's on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't have the exact numbers, but they have pretty much released all the minors that had very low level offenses, or maybe they were going to get out in 2 or 3 months through the court system. However, it's not like the probation chief can go in and say, okay, he can go home, and she can go home. It has to go through the court system. And what a lot of the child advocates were pressing upon is that there was a segment of the institutions code that said that the chief in an emergency could allow people to go home, but they did come out and explain that that's not exactly true. There are in some situations, but it's now going through county council, which is our legal department, where they're examining how it applies to halls and camps and kids and that sort of thing. But the one thing that I think is very, very important that I don't hear people talk about is, until now, I do have some numbers for our staff, and that is there are about 18 staff who tested positive. All of them were just immediately sent home, and I haven't heard of anyone having to go to the hospital and that sort of thing. And some people who thought they had something and actually had a cold, and of course after 14 days they could come back. But we have not had one single minor or juvenile who has tested positive. And I think that shows that we are all doing something right.
That's right. Praise God.
Yes.
God. Amen.
Brad, I don't know, Eric, did you have something to say about that?
Yes. So far, I've been getting the same reports, Cookie, from the union and from the department, so I appreciate it. And that's a blessing, to hear that we haven't had any minors at any of the institutions, being tested positive, at least till now, so which is a great thing. I also want to thank, the union and finally our department for implementing a lot of safety measures when you're going into the institutions, because as you know, everyone was struggling to get enough supplies to be safe. And as of right now, the department is taking a lot of those measures. But moving on to the topic of mental health, I still have a caseload. I know Mr. Carson has a caseload, and I report with a lot of my clients weekly. And a lot of them, I ask what are some of their concerns that they're having, not only within their own family, but also in the community. Thank God, we live in a community where a lot of people come together during these emergencies. So a lot of them are getting a lot of resources and help from their loved ones. But at the same time, many of them still don't have the right information because they continue to hear rumors from other people, So what I try to do is give them the right information and the resources from the experts that are actually working in the front line and providing services and the right information. Because a lot of them think it's our theories or, they have their own ideas about this virus. So a lot of them were not taking it serious about staying home. So one of my challenges has been that, to have them stay home and stay away from hanging out with a lot of their, not just their family members, but what they so-called homies from the streets, what they were used to doing. Because a lot of them miss that, like Dr. Holmes mentioned, a lot of people still adjusting to this change. It's been a challenge for them to accept to stay home. They almost feel like they're in jail again. A lot of them mention that, I've been out of jail. I don't want to be in jail in my own home. And the other challenge is a lot of them live in a small apartment, in a small setting where there's a lot of family or friends living in the same room, so they feel suffocated, so they feel like they have to be out. So, these are some challenges that I hear from my own clients. And I'm trying to, provide as much help and support, but at the same time, I appreciate this, Gene, because we need the experts. We need more people that are engaging this population on the outside. Even though a lot of services are closed, there's still a lot of help via phone or via email or online or places where they're actually doing case-by-case interventions. Another thing is a lot of them are fear. They have a lot of fear on this. A lot of them don't want to be labeled as them getting help is a sign of weakness. Okay, and this is what they're sharing with me as I'm letting them know, this is not the time to think about identity or status. This is about your health, the health of your family. This can't be a sign of weakness just because you're accepting that you're sick or you need counseling or you need mental health services. Because, that's the biggest issue that I've been hearing from my clients, hey, you know what, I don't want to be labeled that something's wrong with me, you see. And Dr. Holmes, maybe you could help with that situation. Gene, I want to add up something else, and Cookie also could chime in anytime, but, when I've been deployed to the institutions, one thing I noticed in talking to the minors, some of them, believe it or not, they don't want to go home. Some of them actually feel more safe in the institutions because we have a lot of internal resources in the institutions. We have medical staff. They have testing. If something is wrong, we are able to transport them to a medical facility. They getting food 3 times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks. They doing a lot of recreational stuff, games. So a lot of them do feel safe at the institutions, and believe it or not, some of them don't even have where to go. That's another issue. They don't have the proper housing. And that's why we also have a group of kids that they're not in there because they committed a crime or anything. They just there because they're DCFS kids, you see. So a lot of them, we also watching them and providing the support in the housing environment because they don't have a place to go on the outside, you know. So that's another component that, you know, they don't talk about, you know, that a lot of people want these individuals to be released, but some of them don't want to be released because they feel the safety net inside the institutions, and we're providing everything that they need.
Right.
Yeah, I heard something similar to that, Eric, in the sense that there are a lot of kids who don't have anything on the outside that really supports them. And nobody really says that. Maybe we should talk a little bit more about that so we can get that out into the community more.
I did. One of the things I was certainly glad to hear is that there's no infections that's happening with the kids. So the question I want to ask is, what kind of social distancing protocols or practices are they doing with the kids that may be different from what they're doing with the adults? I think it's wonderful that none of them have been affected. So something is going on where they're able to kind of hold that infection rate at bay because of the safe practices that's happening. What exactly do you know anything about? And either of you can answer that about what they're doing with the kids versus adults.
Well, I could tell you, based on my experience going to the institutions, it's just that it starts with the staff. You know, when you're walking into the institutions, you know, they're taking your temperature. Every staff has to take their temperature. Okay. They also have to come in. You can't be out without masks, without proper gloves, you know, proper protection. And I think because the department took the approach, we haven't had a situation where staff brought it from the outside to the inside. I think it starts with everyone actually following those protocols and also using them in the inside, you know, including, you know, our staff that works in the kitchens. You know, everything is very sanitized. Everybody's cleaning every day. I mean, everything is over the top. I think it starts with the internal staff. You know, they also being worried not only for themselves, but they worry about the minors, but also remember, they also worry about going home to their own family. Right. So no one wants to bring anything nowhere to anyone. So everyone is taking the proper protocols and precautions as much as they can so they could avoid anybody getting ill, you see. And I'll leave you with this, a little positive and update as far as employment, because, you know, we're from the INVEST program. We have meetings every Tuesdays with WEDAX and all the INVEST case managers and business services from the different agencies through the county. We're still providing good services. We're still getting people employed. I'll tell you the challenges, though. The challenges is that now our population is competing with the regular population again, but even to a higher level, because as you know, people that don't have any background barriers, they also losing their jobs and being laid off. So they're willing to take sometimes the jobs that at times they wouldn't take. You know, right now they're trying to make whatever money they could get from any type of job at times, they taking. So a lot of our population is competing with us for those jobs. The other challenge is it's a huge now, and I call it a huge barrier for our clients because everything's online. A lot of them don't have the proper equipment at home that they're able to apply online. They're using their phones, but as you know, in the phones, you can't really do the same thing that you could do like in a desktop or a laptop. And there's a lot of questions that they're asking online now that if you don't answer correctly, you automatically get disqualified. You don't even move forward. So this is just a quick update to the challenges that we facing, our clients are facing, everybody's facing with the new technology movement. So what a lot of the agencies are doing with our clients is they're doing what we're doing right now over the computer, is updating their resumes and helping them by steps how to answer those questions and how to apply and make a profile. Because a lot of these places, you need a profile, and it's challenging because a lot of them have problems reading, a lot of them have problems typing. So so these are just an update of the new challenges that we're also facing about employment and training.
Wow. So those are the similar problems that doing my day job. I work for South Bay Workforce Investment Board as a case manager, and so I work with game participants. A number of them have a criminal history background, so having to work with them to put in their profile and having them to understand the application tracking system that's online. So if you don't put in everything exactly that will match, because you're trying to get at least 80% match on that application tracking system according to what the job description is asking for. So working with them one-on-one, just to deal with the resume, submitting a profile online, let's say at the County of Los Angeles, if you want to be able to submit your application, you got to do a profile. And that profile is long and tedious.
Yes, it is.
So you got to be able to work with them one-on-one to put in that profile, and then make sure that they understand that not one resume is going to do it. Your resume has to be tailored according to that job description. And when you put in that job description and make it to your resume and put it in there, it usually will get you 80%. The 80% is only going to get you a call back for an interview. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a job. So it just gets you in the door for the interview. So then we got to work with them to get them prepared for the interview. Then we got to work with them to get them prepared for making sure they get to the interview on time, dressed properly. I've had participants go in an interview with flip-flops. They wear the flip-flops. Some of the participants will bring their child with them to the interview. So you can't do that. So it takes a long process and preparation to get our people prepared just to get ready to submit their application online. So that's a long process. So again, that's what Anchor of Hope, dealing with our Grateful to Work, is looking forward to 2020 and 21 dealing with that. So we want to partner with South Bay. Even though I work for South Bay, I have to walk that fine road like you do, Eric, as a probation officer, because you don't want to cross a line, because you still got to follow the rules and regulations and the procedures that your employer is asking, but then being upfront and being transparent to let them know this is my passion, this is what I do as part of a ministry, a part of giving back to my community. So I want you to know this, but I want to be able to come to you to do this. So thank goodness Robert Chavez, the program director or program manager of South Bay WIB, and Jan Vogel of South Bay WIB, they understand that this is what Anchor is all about. So our time is up.
Wait. I got one question for either Cookie or Eric. Do you know how many juveniles are still in the detention camps across the county? How many juveniles are incarcerated right now in the county juvenile detention? Do you know?
It's in the area of 300 something.
So it's come down?
Yeah, it has. It has come down, but that's not an exact number, but that's.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Are there any that are adults get institutionalized? They get used to being in prison. They don't want to come out. I think that's what Eric was kind of talking about before.
Well, what Eric is talking about is for different reasons.
Yeah, I understand that.
Psychological position. These kids are concerned about their safety and meals. A sort of structure.
Yeah, but I was thinking if you have the tendency to be that way, that you don't want to come out of prison
Mm,
already, and then you have the virus on top of that, it would kind of intensify, those
mm,
feelings that you want to stay safe,
mm,
inside of
Yeah, yeah,
detention camp.
no, it is. And to answer your questions, it's a case by case situation, and also it's up to the courts to determine who stays, who's going to be released. From the adult perspective, many clients they're not even they get arrested, but they're not even being put inside a jail.
Process.
Yeah, they actually being cited out. You know what I mean? We have situations in the field where individuals gotten arrested 3 times and they didn't make it inside the county jail at all. They just continue to get cited.
That's a guy after my heart right there, by the way. But
But I'm just being honest. It's the times. If you don't meet that criteria, you're not coming in either into a hospital or to a county jail or any institution. We're in a situation where everything is being assessed, and if you don't meet those assessments, then you might not be able to go in, or just be cited. So I hope I answered your question.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's it for me, Gene. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Dr. Holmes, and thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.